Storm Center coverage continues here on the Weather Network. It is Thursday, February the 13th, and a massive storm system impacting much of central and eastern Canada with snow, wind, ice pellets, freezing rain, you name it, causing big headaches. got our full team of coverage here. We've got Michael Van in the field. We've got Mark Robinson. He's on the road, and we've also got Nadine Powell. And we're going to be breaking down this storm with you, timing it out. Of course, in southern areas of Ontario, this began last night, so there's a lot of aftermath to contend with, whether it's closures, school buses, travel, the airports, the TTC, significant delays. Here's a look at Brampton, all that snow. Absolutely, one thing you want to make sure you have if you must get out there today, because I understand a lot of you must, is along with everything you would take, your snow brush, extra blankets, water, charged cell phone, bring a shovel with you. You may have to dig yourself out. You know CAA is going to be very, very busy. So this is a big storm system impacting both sides of the border. That means big travel delays at big airports. Let's start with you, Mark Robinson. So what has it been like for you? Where are you? Where are you going next?
Chris, yes, I am traveling along the 403 right now, headed towards 403 and the 427, looking to talk to Carrie Schmidt just about what the conditions have been like here in Toronto, because I can tell you, leaving house this morning, just getting out of the driveway and down the unplowed roads, the side streets, very difficult. Managed to get there. Once I got onto the 401, not so bad, but the one thing I did notice, and I'm still seeing it now, is that a lot of the exit ramps are not plowed yet, or they've got a ridge of snow. So a lot of cars getting stuck. So I saw a go bus stuck in one of the roads back here along the 403. So definitely slow drive, but not as busy, which is unsurprising given how many people I think elected to stay home today.
Well, no question about it. And even try to take alternate routes. I mentioned the TTC, all the streetcars, because of the weather, and also Go Transit is on a special schedule as well. So, I mean, just getting out of your own driveway is going to be a big challenge. I know the hotel that our work put us up in today, last night, and I'm very thankful for that, but the plows couldn't clear that. So, along with a colleague of mine, Dylan, we actually digged not only my car out, but we pretty much dug ourselves right to the exit, so the other people who could stay could get out as well. All right, Nadine Powell standing by, going to give us a breakdown of this big area of low pressure, with the science behind it. And Nadine, this is not like the storms earlier in the winter that we're targeting, like lake effect snow, the snow belts. This is a big one with a much larger wingspan.
Yeah, certainly so, Chris. And just as you were saying there with Dylan helping you to shovel, who can you call? Not Ghostbusters. Call Dylan for a shovel out. Yeah, this storm system really now tapping into a lot of moisture from the Gulf of Mexico. We see there on the radar imagery, while the bulk of the snow now is pushing into eastern Ontario and southern Quebec. Still a couple of centimeters left for us. Now, previously, during the earlier part of the winter season, we had a lot of Alberta clippers that came through, and they typically move very fast, and they bring just some light snowfall across the area because the air mass with an Alberta clipper is, much drier. But with, something like a Texas slow, which is what we are experiencing now, this taps into Gulf moisture, and of course, the cold component. We've had a lot of cold air around, and the clash of those two air masses and that track just around the Lower Lakes region is what we see here now, bringing us the heavy snowfall. So if I can just zoom in a bit to the radar, and you can see here, while most of the snow is pushing through eastern Ontario, southern Quebec, some good news. Just some slight news here that we are starting to see breaks and an ease in the precipitation, but we can't let our guards down because it's going to be windy, so blowing and drifting snow will be an issue out on many of the roadways. Michael Van, you are in Toronto. How are things looking on your end? I suspect the same like everywhere else.
Absolutely. Well, and you're just talking about the snow that's coming down right now. You might be looking out your window and thinking that snow has stopped, but it has not. It's actually super fine coming down right now. And the name of the game this morning in Toronto is clearing up. And where I am in Nathan Phillips Square, you have the tractors out this morning clearing the snow. And what you can really tell from this snow, where they are clearing it, is just how much snow we saw here downtown overnight. Now, I made my way down to downtown from Midtown this morning, and I will tell you, it was an extra long journey just getting to the TTC, and that was on foot. And I was, of course, keeping an eye on road conditions, and all of the major arteries within the city seem to be relatively clear. Now, they're not completely clear. You are going to need to give yourself that extra time. And as I'm going to have Manny, my cameraman here, pan over so you can see just how slow the traffic is moving this morning along right here by Nathan Phillips Square. You know, you just have to keep that in mind, because if you're not on a highway, a lot of these side streets it's going to take the city a long time. Now, the city did declare a major snow event for this, and what that does is release all of the available resources. So about 1,400 different snow plow, snow clearing operations, sanders, salters, things like that to get out on the roadways. And so you can expect for the next 24, 48, even 72 hours, by the time we head into the next snowstorm this weekend, or the snow system this weekend, we might still be seeing operations cleaning up from this. Murph?
All right, thank you, Michael Van. And, it's not just the GTA, it's a widespread across portions of southern and eastern Ontario. Or from the Ontario Provincial Police, Carrie Schmidt has some wise words about what to keep in mind if you must be venturing out.
Well, it's Thursday morning, 5:30. The snow is still coming down. There's a lot of snow sitting on people's vehicles. Traffic volume is unfortunately starting to build. People are still venturing out there. Please, if you don't need to be out there, let this system pass and let the plows do their work. We don't have a lot of crashes going on, but we do have a lot of cars slipping and sliding, getting stuck on ramps, off ramps, and just in snowbanks themselves. Do yourself a favor, and everybody else, stay home, let this system pass, let first responders, emergency responders deal with what's going on the roads, and we will update you as the morning progresses. This snow is supposed to stop in the coming hours. The plows are going to continue to plow and clear those highways, and once we get everything plowed and cleared and the snow is done, it'll be a much better position for people to be out on the roads. Snow day for a lot of people. Please take care, stay safe.
All right, Sergeant Carrie Schmidt, wise words as always. And, Mark, it's always based on a priority scale, the major routes. Now, you were mentioning some of the off-ramps were not yet plowed too, so that could be extra challenging trying to get off the highway or on the highway for that matter.
Yeah, you know what, Chris? One of the things I've said is if you see that ridge on that exit that you want to get off at, go to the next one. I know that's super annoying to do, but you don't want to get stuck on that ridge. So that little bit of extra time to go to the next exit is a lot less the time that you'll spend, jammed into one of these ridges. Now, there have been when I was 401 to 407, that same problem, but a couple of big trucks had been through, so I was able to sort of scooch through, but that was really taking a chance on getting stuck there. So my recommendation is just go on to the next one and try to get off there. But as I've said, the 403, 401, they are plowed. It's not clear, but they've definitely been plowed and treated. But it's the side streets. Those side streets are going to take a while to get cleared up. And that you're going to have to be aware of. So even if you're leaving, if you hear that the main arteries, they're all clear, you're going to have potentially some serious problem trying to get to those main arteries. So that's something you have to be very aware of. The plows will get to that, but keep in mind, as Michael Van was saying, there's 1,400 plows, but we have a lot of roads in the GTA, so it's going to take a while to get everything cleared up. So it's really going to be a matter of be patient, or if you can, work from home today. I know not everybody can, but just if you are going to be out and about, be careful, be aware that when you are driving, just be aware of the other cars that are around you, like the cars that are sort of passing me right now. Chris?
Yeah, some good advice there, Mark. Certainly looking at those roads there, it's all white, but thankfully, we want to say a big thank you to all of the, first responders, emergency personnel, all of the plow operators, because they have been working through the night multiple times trying to get those roads cleared. So exercise a little bit of patience. We will all be needing it today. Michael Van is downtown. He was mentioning that the snowfall is very light in nature, and we can certainly see that being represented on the radar here. So some breaks in that. So the snow will be coming to an end over the next couple of hours across the GTA, and as it transitions, we'll see the snowfall intensity really lighten up throughout the next couple of hours. Something that we were concerned about was that mixing around the Niagara region, just on the edges of Lake Ontario. Looks like most of that has stayed to the south around the western end, but certainly into parts of eastern Ontario, that warm nudge might be pushing into the area. But the good news is that, of course, the snow will be tapering off for us as we head through the next couple of hours. Want to quickly show that progression for us. So this morning for the next couple of hours, and by the time we head through the noon hour, we can say goodbye. But of course, Michael, the cleanup will be it's already started, but really intensifying now as we survey exactly how much snow we've got to push out of the way.
Absolutely. And one of the things on my travels to come here this morning, when I was walking to the TTC this morning, one of the big things is your normal route is likely not clear. So there's a lot of places where, different buildings, different places have different snow clearing methods. And so you might actually have a spot like behind me here where you've got a lot of snow pushed over your normal route. So that becomes a bit tricky as you're trying to make your way across the city. You're essentially just zigzagging across the city. It took me about 40 minutes to get from Midtown to downtown, which is usually not that long of a trek. So if you do have to get out, make certain that you give yourself that extra time and be mindful of the fact that you might have to take a bit of a different route, even just on foot today. Now, of course, Mark is out tracking the major highways right now and keeping an eye on those. And of course, we're keeping an eye on the streets here in downtown Toronto. And honestly, there's still a good bit of snow despite the fact that crews have been out clearing. So if you can stick to those major arteries in the city, you're going to want to do so. Murph, over to you.
All right. And it's not just Ontario that's getting hit by this storm, Quebec as well. In fact, anywhere from Ottawa to Montreal, rapidly accumulating snow. Ottawa's well over 20 centimeters of snow now. Montreal's getting around the 15 centimeter mark, but it's still coming down. And you see these darker blues of hue. So you've got that heavier snow. So very similar issues encountering in Ontario. Same story in Quebec. It's just it started a few hours later in Quebec. Just look at that poor visibility. So you've got the wind, you've got the snow, and this is going to mean some significant drifting as well. Now, you've had snow events already in, Montreal, Quebec City, Sherbrooke, Gatineau, certainly. But this is probably the largest single one. So this is going to continue right through the morning, right through the afternoon, and about this evening, that's when we start to see things dissipate west to east. And by tomorrow morning, it's pretty much done. But take a look at some of these accumulations: 25 to 35 centimeters of snow around Montreal, up to 40 centimeters once you get up into Mont Tremblant and the Laurentians, and down towards the eastern townships could be looking at 15 to 20 plus centimeters of snow. So this is a very treacherous drive from anywhere from the 401 up Highway 20, Highway 40. There's no escaping this storm system. And then he's mentioning there's going to be another one coming into the weekend that'll bring some more snow, and that'll be followed by some cold temperatures into next week. So again, this particular storm system, this is really a today event in Quebec through tonight, and we'll worry about the next storm later. But Nadine, of course, we also know that storm is going to be moving over towards Atlantic Canada. I'll get to more details on that as well, because we got a lot of school closures in New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, PEI, and hosts of school closures across Quebec.
Yeah, certainly so, Chris. And of course, for anyone wondering, I think they can just look out their window, they check their driveway, the areas in their neighborhood, and they'll definitely confirm that, yes, we have achieved that 20 plus centimeters across a wide swath of the GTA and southern Ontario. And despite the fact that it is coming to an end for the GTA and westward, still a couple of centimeters still possible for us. I'll show you the radar imagery here to show that Essentially, eastern Ontario, southern Quebec, they are on the receiving end of the heaviest snowfall taking us through the rest of this morning into the afternoon. We are starting to see some improvements, some breaks. So drying conditions coming through for us. Although the hazard that we will continue to experience throughout the day today will be the winds for us. Those winds are expected to gust 60 kilometers per hour. So that'll make things feel, quite cold. And of course, blowing and drifting snow will be an issue on the roads for today for anyone who has to head out. And the lake effect will be setting up as well. So we're not done with the snowfall just yet. We're getting it from multiple vantage points, from the system moving out, from the lake effect setting up along the snow belts. And of course, we've got that next system that we'll be talking about for this weekend. But we'll head on over to Mark, who's out on the roads. Mark, things are looking, I'm seeing a little bit of black there. So that's a little optimistic there.
Yeah, a little bit. And, it's interesting, Nadine, I just saw a bunch of plows headed westbound. So they're really taking care of the 401 here. I'm just about to the airport. I think I'm just coming over the Etobicoke Creek right now. But this, it's not too bad. I think the really good thing at this point for me is there's just not that many cars on the road compared to what it would normally be in this part of the city at this time of the day. So a lot of people have taken the chance to stay home, or are simply just said, nope, not going to work today. I know a lot of school boards have been closed. I'll leave you the details of that with you, but definitely, whoops, here we go, sorry, just when you can't see the lines and you have debris on the road, it gets a little touchy here. So I'm just going to be very careful here. Watching people sort of swerve around that debris there, and somebody almost spun out behind me. Remember, when you are driving, you're not going to want to make big changes. So don't, yank the wheel. Don't slam on the brakes. Don't hit the gas really hard. All of those things will contribute to a loss of control. So what you want to do is make sure that you're giving yourself a little extra room, a little extra time, and don't suddenly change lanes. Take it easy, take it slow, and that will make things a lot easier for you. And Nadine, we'll go back into you.
Thank you so much, Mark. We'll check back in, of course, with you. Stay safe out there on the roads, of course. This snow, a lot of it is continuing to make its way eastward through southern Quebec and into Atlantic Canada. Atlantic Canada probably will see more of a mixed profile coming through as that system is expected to track perhaps up into, say, southern central New Brunswick. So, Chris, it will be pulling in a little bit more of that warmth, so they will get perhaps more of that ice pellets, freezing rain, and rain as opposed to southern Ontario and southern Quebec.
Well, that was perfect timing, because one of the questions that we've had, because we're live streaming here, and we know that people have some questions about it, is will the storm be just as bad for Atlantic Canada? So let's start there now. So first of all, the core of the storm is still well to your west, and so we're just starting to see the very early returns near the New Brunswick and U.S. border. That will be moving its way eastward, so you do have some light snow for the morning hours into the afternoon. Note the heavier snow will be, around Fredericton, so Route 8 up there, all the way up towards, Miramichi area, and northern areas, Grand Falls, Campbellton, big snow. PEI, if you're in Prince Edward Island and you're watching right now, Prince County will out-snow Kings County, because you're going to get into some ice pellets. Same story, St. John and Moncton. Moncton's right around that snow and ice pellet mix by this afternoon and evening. And Halifax, yes, this is snow, but not big snow. This is the bigger risk for you, I think, is going to be that freezing rain before potentially ending as rain showers. And then through the overnight, that moves into Newfoundland, and likely going to see snow mixing to rain showers for the Burin and the Avalon. So you've got a messy mix coming. And then the sea effect snow squalls will return for Friday, and the wind is going to be the other issue. So just to walk you through the snowfall amounts, again, north of Fredericton, you're looking at well over 20, if not 30 centimeters of snow. You get south of the capital, and you get lesser amounts, but that's because of the mixing. Halifax, and we got lots of school closures in Nova Scotia as well. New Brunswick, I know all the Anglophone and Francophone schools are closed down. Cape Breton, Highlands, especially big snow, and St. John's, maybe 10 to 15 centimeters of snow. But as you go westwards, those amounts will certainly increase exponentially because you're going to get the sea effect snow and less mixing. There's the risk of ice pellets to come along with too, and freezing rain. Freezing rain is the most dreaded of all the precipitation types, and there will be the risk of power outages, not to mention blowing snow, because we've got wind gusts in the forecast tonight and through tomorrow. Look at those winds whistling across the Gulf and all on coastal areas. They could go 90 plus kilometers per hour, and it's going to be windy right through till Saturday as well. So Michael Van, you are providing the preview for what's heading further east as well. You're downtown Toronto. Let's see. I think for a lot of Torontonians, this is probably bringing back shades of a storm a few years ago that brought 40 plus centimeters of snow. Are you enjoying the snowstorm, Michael?
You know what? I absolutely love snow. I don't know, a lot of our viewers may not know this. I grew up in the southern U.S. I grew up in Georgia, North Georgia. Don't get a lot of snow down there, but I have been working in weather for more than a decade, and snow is my absolute favorite. So I love these big snowstorms. I was covering Winter Storm Jonas back in, I guess, 2018 in Central Park, and I love when I can get out in the morning and I've got snow up to my knees, and I absolutely love it. So if you're going to move to Canada, you better be ready to embrace that winter weather, because whether you like it or not, it's coming your way. So yeah, it's great.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember tweeting not long ago, people saying, well, it hasn't been that bad of a winter. It's like, well, we're only at the halfway point, we're back on Groundhog Day, and the second half often brings more storms than the first half. So thank you very much, Michael Van. We'll check in again with you. We've got our whole team here. We've got Nadine Powell. We've got Mark Robinson. He's also on the roads, and things that we've been mentioning along with, if you're going to be taking an Uber, for example, because you don't want to get out there and drive. If you must go, keep in mind that Uber, the wait's going to be longer and probably a little more expensive as well. That tends to happen when the weather turns, so you've got to be prepared for that. If you want to take TTC, the street cars, they're just wreaking havoc with that because of the rail travel, and also Go Transit too. All right, Mark Robinson.
Okay, cool.
Let's see. All right, Mark, you are pulled over now. I see that. Whereabouts are you? And I can see the traffic is moving very, very slowly near you.
Yeah, Chris, I'm just on the 401 at the 427 right now, meeting up with Kerry Schmidt from OPP. He's actually right here with a stuck tractor trailer, and again, I think this, even a slight deviation, just a little bit, you catch that edge, and you're into the snow. And when you're dealing with an 18-wheeler, if you're in an 18-wheeler, those things take a lot to turn, so you could easily end up in trouble. But if you're in a smaller vehicle, same sort of thing. And one of the things, Chris, I was saying before we, last time we talked, was that try to do any changes slowly. That is your best bet to not spin your car out, lose control. And so if you're hitting the brakes, make sure you give yourself that bigger distance, simply because you're going to need that bigger distance to stop. If you slam the brakes on real hard, you end up just sliding along the snow. And you can actually get a faster distance if your wheels are turning very slightly. Making changes, making lane changes from lane to lane, especially if you've got that ridge of snow. You're going to want to make sure that you're not sort of yanking the wheel real hard, because it's a very good way to spin out again. So this is one of the things we're saying. We're hoping that nobody gets stuck in the ditches, in the snow, but it is going to happen today. Be careful when you're making your way around. So far, though, the 401 pretty clear. And the one thing we were talking about earlier was that the ridges at the exits, that is definitely a problem. But as I've seen from the drive from the Weather Network along 403 and up here onto the 401, has been pretty good. So the exits are open. I haven't seen a lot of those big ridges where people are getting stuck on. So far, so good. Fingers crossed that that continues. But this system is beginning to move east, so we're really seeing a drop in the amount of precipitation. Murph?
Mark, I have a very quick question before I let you go. Does traffic seem, I know it's moving very slow, but does it seem lighter than normal? Do you think people are maybe heeding the advice and maybe not getting out on the roads this morning?
Oh, absolutely. We're definitely seeing that like far less. I mean, I'm at the 427 and the 401. This is my neighborhood. I grew up here, and so I know how busy this can be at 7:30 in the morning. And this is unusual to see as few as we're seeing right now.
All right, thank you very much, Mark. We'll be checking in again with you. And Nadine Powell is standing by. Nadine, we have a question from a viewer and wants to know, how does the storm look for Ottawa? Now, this question, I'm sure, was probably asked earlier this morning because it is coming down pretty heavily in Ottawa. At last check, I believe are around 23 centimeters at YOW there at Ottawa International. So what does it look like for Eastern Ontario, including Ottawa, over the next, say, several hours?
Well, you know what, Chris, in the Ottawa area, what you see right now, this is what you're going to be experiencing for the next few hours. So you are in the thick of it for the first half of the day. You can see here on the radar imagery, we are seeing that sheet of snowfall at a moderate intensity. It's continuing for us for Ottawa and many of the suburbs in and around the region. And essentially, this is going to be the story for you until we head through the afternoon when things begin to ease for us. So I'll just sort of show you, for instance, through the rest of this morning and how we expect the snowfall to progress. So keep your eye there on the Ottawa region. You're getting into that heavier intensity snowfall now. That'll take us through the next few hours. As we head to the noon hour, so we start to see some slight decrease in the intensity of the snowfall, and into the afternoon, things begin to improve for us. So the afternoon will be a lot better in terms of snowfall compared to this morning. But certainly this morning is a write-off with regard to that snowfall, because it is going to be quite heavy for us. Now, parts of the Greater Toronto area and to the west, now we are looking at the back side of this, perhaps just a few flurries left, maybe a centimeter or two. But Michael, the cleanup is really what the focus will be shifting to for the rest of today.
That is absolutely right. We've actually shifted our shot here. I wanted to give you guys a little bit of a closer look at the roadway here. Now, this is the corner of Bay and Queen here in downtown Toronto. And you can see the roadways are relatively clear, compared to what we see here on some of the sidewalks. But as you can see, these cars are going awfully slow, especially around that turn right there. That's the thing. You want to make certain that you are prepared for those changing conditions. Now, speaking of roadways, the city of Toronto has declared a major weather event that is associated with this snowstorm. What that does is free up the resources needed to start clearing the roadways. But just keep in mind, if you typically, let's say you decide you do want to make the trip, you have to make the trip downtown today, your normal parking spot may not be available. And that's because these snow routes that are deemed across the city, that the city tackles first to make certain that those major arteries are clear, those are off limits to park in today. So you want to make certain that you're keeping an eye on where you're parking if you are coming downtown, that you do not park. Now, if you do find yourself parking there, you're likely going to get towed. And you may also incur a $200 additional fine on top of those towing expenses that you're going to incur as well. So it's not smart. Don't do it. And of course, the city is counting on all of us to help keep everyone safe and keep those roads clear. Nadine?
All right, so Michael, I have a question for you, and depending on, your perspective, whether you're going to be shoveling it or you're going to be playing it, if you're a kid or a kid at heart, the answer is going to make a huge deal. In terms of the snowfall consistency, is it light and fluffy? Is it heavy and back-breaking? What can folks expect when they head out eventually into that snowfall?
Nadine, one thing I noticed last night while we were out covering the snow is sort of the mix of the snow that was coming down. There's a lot of that really fine, powdery snow, but in addition to that, there were some bigger flakes when we were out around 8:30, 9 o'clock last night. So I can bend down here and actually show you some of that consistency. It does not really pack very easily. That's good news in some ways, but it's also not complete powder. So in other ways, I think it's going to be sort of a mixed bag. And when you're talking this much snow, I don't think anyone is going to enjoy shoveling this much snow, especially if you didn't get out last night. and do a little shoveling, it's not going to be a fun morning if that's something you're having to do today.
Well, definitely not shoveling. We won't enjoy that. We don't enjoy having to drive in it. But if you have to play in it, perhaps, a snowball fight, or you're out with the kids, they certainly will be enjoying it. And our pets as well. Now, on a more serious note, though, you can see there, we are still looking at those winds to be on the gusty side throughout the day today, 40 to 60 kilometers per hour. So while the snowfall will be coming to an end, the winds will be increasing. So we do have a lot of snow on the ground in many open areas. Some of those routes will be affected by blowing and drifting snow across the area. So that will certainly be a concern, especially with lake effects setting up. And then now we will be turning our attention to the next one, which is coming in for us for this weekend, both Saturday and Sunday. You see here, this is just the first look at that storm. We are expecting again another swath of heavy snowfall, similar makeup to this one coming in on the weekend compared to what we are experiencing now. So of course we'll have to fine tune the exact track of that, because we all know how very important that track can be, because as you can see just along the shores of Lake Erie there will be a warmer component with some mixing coming in. And with all this snowfall that we've got today and that we are expecting on the weekend, Family Day is on Monday. That snow will be sticking around. So while you might want to get out and enjoy it, it is going to be frigid, Chris.
Nadine. Now, I'm just taking a look here. We've got some fresh snowfall totals here, and these are unofficial, but this is what we've been counting up so far. So Toronto, Pearson, 26 centimeters of snow. Now, Hamilton, quite a bit less at Monroe Airport there, but we've had mixing too as well. Ottawa, 23 centimeters of snow, still coming down in the nation's capital, and Montreal, just in the last hour, picked up 6 centimeters more. So that is a heavy accumulating rate in Quebec City now, 4 centimeters. Of course, this is still early returns in Quebec City. So Toronto, there's not much more snow to go, but the damage has been done. Now, in terms of these road conditions, I want to thank Laura Power. She put together this map here to show you. In the purple, you got those icy conditions, or the combination of the snow and the ice, and further north, it's all snowy there. So this is going to be definitely still, even as the snow eases, it doesn't mean it's over yet. So we've got that. Now, Patrick Delbefoy, he works at Meteo Media, which is our sister station here in Quebec, and he's got an update now in the Montreal area.
The snow started late last night and intensified overnight. We have close to 10 centimeters that fell over Montreal. You can see this is Highway de Carrie. It's usually bumper to bumper at this time in the morning, but already we are we heard about accidents and people that left the road and got in the ditch. The roads are not necessarily very slippery because it's a dry snow. It's minus 10 degrees right now, but it's the visibility that seems to be a problem around the Montreal area. So necessarily keep a distance between your car and the car in front. And it's gonna go on like this for the snow most of the morning until early afternoon, so beware of that.
All right, thank you very much, Patrick. And speaking of the roads, now we've got Mark Robinson joined by Sergeant Carrie Schmidt, and let's see what the latest is here now.
Yeah, Chris, we're right at 427 and 401. We've got a truck in the ditch here, so Carrie's watching very closely. I keep seeing you looking that way as things are getting going. Take me through last night and what's going on now.
Yeah, well, the storm kind of hit around 6 o'clock and went from dry roads to wet roads pretty fast. Some blowing snow, and then as it got dark, it got intense, and the accumulation started coming, and it really slowed everybody down. Fortunately, we didn't have a lot of serious collisions, or really hardly any. No fatal crashes, no full road closures. We had a pedestrian who was struck as they got out of their vehicle after spinning out of control on the 407. Fortunately, the injuries were minor, but those have certainly turned tragic in the past. And then as the system went through the overnight hours, by 4 a.m., it was still snowing hard, but there was very little traffic volume. As people started waking up, people were thinking, well, I got all-wheel drive, I need to get to work. And that was probably one of the first mistakes, because we saw traffic volume increase, and now we delayed the plowing operation. And that's what we're dealing with right now, with this tractor trailer stuck on the shoulder, and plows have now come through, and they were waiting. The plowing operation was actually shut down because of the vehicles that were stuck here, and they finally couldn't wait. But now we have this whole shoulder that needs to be replowed once they come back on their next run, and he's stuck. He's been there for an hour and a half or 2 hours already, and he'll be here longer waiting for a tow truck, and then we're going to have more delays as the tow comes in to winch him out. Again, we tell people, stay home unless absolutely necessary, non-essential travel, and if everyone would have stayed home for a few more hours, the plows would have gone through, the roads would be in much better shape. The lanes themselves, you still can't see the lane markings, but once that salt gets in, once the plows get done, we're going to be in much better shape. It's just taking a lot longer, and the traffic volume is not helping.
Real quick, what do you recommend? What's your recommendation for people that are getting on the road, for the people, the Torontonians, and everyone in the GTA?
There's been people spinning and skidding and slipping and sliding. Understand how your vehicle works. Understand where your traction control button is. That is so often the saving grace that will get you moving. You get that tire spinning and get yourself moving again. If you find a bit of a windrow you need to punch through, you got to go there with a bit of energy. If you stop on it and then think you're going to just walk over it, like some people crawl over a railway track and they almost stop, it's not going to help. You're going to be stuck and you're not going to get going again. So that's the problem. We got MTO blocker trucks coming up here behind us right now.
There we
go.
So
we got some of our saviors helping us, which is great. Now we need our heavy tow to winch this car out of here and then get these shoulders plowed.
All right, so we'll go back into you while we get out of the way of the tow trucks.
As we've been talking about, it isn't just southern Ontario getting hit, but parts of Quebec and Atlantic Canada, which is en route for you. One of the questions we had is, how's it looking for eastern Quebec? Okay, I'll take care of this one right here. Well, first of all, this storm is moving west to east. It's already coming down pretty intense now in Montreal, up to about 13 centimeters of snow. There's a lot of school closures in around Montreal. There's also flight delays and cancellations on a lot of the big airports, so call ahead, Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal. Got some video here I want to share with you and take a look at some of the snow drift. Saint Jerome, and there we go. This was the scene this early this morning. So again, this is still early, but you can see just the snow coming down horizontal, and this is going to be some reduced visibility, and we could be looking at potentially 25 to 35 centimeters around the Metro Montreal area, right up the St. Lawrence to Quebec City, Charlevoix, down through the eastern townships, Lanaudier, Laurentians, all the way to Gatineau and the Ottawa Valley. How about further east? Well, yeah, this is going to be some heavy snow all along the North Shore, from Baie-Comeau to Sept-Îles right out towards Blanc-Sablon. This could be, in excess of 20, if not 30 centimeters of snow. And that same story through Gaspé, northern areas of New Brunswick, and Anacostia and Ile-de-la-Madeleine. All these areas are going to get hit. And you notice much lesser amounts of snow, Halifax to Yarmouth, but that doesn't mean you're completely off the hook because of the risk of ice pellets and freezing rain. So we'll time that out with you when I come back. But first, let's go back to Nadine Powell. All right, Nadine. So this is a significant storm impacting millions of Canadians, and also it's a busy time. It's the morning rush hour, and the snow's been falling since last night, and say around the Greater Toronto area. So we're into the aftermath, the accumulation. So even it's not so much the falling snow. By the way, the snowfall warning has just been ended now in around the city of Toronto.
Yeah, certainly, Chris. We're seeing a lot of the warnings with regard to the outgoing system. Those will be dropping off, but then we'll be shifting our focus to the lake effect setting up behind it. And we see there that snow squall watch, and we do have some blowing snow advisories as well. And this is going to be up into the snowbelt regions through the afternoon. You can see that lake effect setting up, and also some windy conditions for us across much of southern Ontario. Those gusts likely in the range of 40 to 60 kilometers per hour. So despite the fact that across a wide swath of the GTA, there won't be any snow falling, there will be blowing and drifting snow on the roads and into the snow belt. That's going to be a hazard there with the lake effect setting up into tomorrow morning. And then we turn our attention to the next storm. You see there, this one going across the central Midwest of the U.S. So this is going to be a little bit different from the current one. The current one is a Texas low. The genesis of that was in the Texas area. This one a little bit farther north, but you can see in terms of the actual swath of snowfall across Ontario and eventually into Quebec as well, Saturday and Sunday, it is going to be quite similar for us. And of course, we do have a lot of that cold air in place and a lot of this cold air across the west. You can see temperatures across the prairies. It's been frigid. We'll head on outside to our Michael Van, because Michael, this cold air in the prairies is slowly, affecting us and shifting its way eastward. So this snow isn't going anywhere.
Absolutely, and honestly, I think that's a good reason why, if you can get out and enjoy the snow today before some of those colder temperatures make their way in. It's a prime opportunity to do so. We've shifted our shot here a little bit because I want to show you just how deep. You know, I was saying earlier that I really like the snow when it comes up to my knees. Well, not quite there yet. We are up to the calves at this point in Toronto. Now, I want to actually tempt people. If you are thinking of, do I get out and about today? Do I go into the office? If you're trying to make that decision, I am going to tempt you to stay home and enjoy the snow, because you know what? That's the fun side of the snow too. You know, there are dangers obviously that come with it, but like you said, kids and a lot of adults like myself like to get out and enjoy it. So why not enjoy some snow angels? Here we go. It's the only way to get in the snow, really. Really the only way to get in the snow. The only problem with this is you have to do one arm at a time when you're dealing with a microphone, but oh, there we go. Gosh, if I can get up here. My goodness, that's a lot of snow. All right, sending you on to the more serious side of it, headed back over to Mark now.
Yeah, Michael, I'm not going to be doing snow angels right here because I'm on the 401, and the 427. Definitely, it's definitely a lot of snow here, but instead of having fun doing snow angels, a lot of people are driving and not having quite as much fun. Now, there are a couple of positive outlooks right now, is that the plows have been really working away. The traffic is light, much lighter than you would expect at this time in the morning. And we don't have that many cars in the ditch. Talking to Carrie, I said that mostly through the night, didn't have any serious accidents. But you can see right now we've got a truck in the ditch there. Plows are going to be coming through to sort of try and deal with this whole thing. But before they do that, you got to have the tow trucks coming in, and that's what they're doing now. So they're going to try to get that truck out of there so that the plows can then open this up here, allow people to get through. So far so good on our part of the roads here at the 427 and the 401.
Mark, I got a quick question for you. You remember the snowstorm that hit southern Ontario? I believe it was about 3 winters ago. This was the one that dropped 40 to 50 centimeters of snow. Would you say this is the worst one since then?
Oh, yeah. Chris, I think you're right. For the GTA anyway, yes, I remember that one because that was crazy. I was down at the CN Tower with Dave Hodge and I were down there, sort of reporting from there. This one does remind me of that, but it's not quite as bad. But I'm going to have to say, for the GTA, this is probably the worst one we've seen since then.
All right, so Mark, thank you. We'll be checking in again with you because I want to know what your plan is for today, but you've been doing a great job. We've been hearing from the OPP. The message is consistent. If you don't have to be out on the roads today, you certainly don't want to be. By the way, if you have to travel, amongst other things that you bring with you, bring a shovel as well, because you might have to dig yourself out because the wait times for CAA or whatever the case may be very long, and there's a lot of drifting with this, so this is producing some very adverse conditions. Now we'll just take a look here at these are some recent totals. These are unofficial. Now London had about 10 centimeters, 11 in Hamilton. Of course, that has been also some mixed precipitation, but just up towards Burlington and Oakville, those numbers got quite a bit higher. 26 centimeters in Toronto, Pearson, 23 in Ottawa, and 13 centimeters in Montreal. And then just in the last hour, Montreal picked up 6 fresh centimeters of snow to go. So there's still lots to go on here. Now I misspoke earlier. I said the snowfall warning was done for Toronto. That is not the case. It's still in effect. I think it will be out sooner than later, but it's still there. It's west of there that the snowfall warnings are over. What is new? Snow squall watches, Grey, Bruce County, over towards Barrie, Innisfil, up towards southern Bruce. We've got some blowing snow advisories downwind of Lake Huron. So those are those winds picking up those west-northwest winds. And snowfall warnings still continue across the Kawartha Lakes. And then as you go north of there, well, you're into the winter storm warnings, including around the Bancroft area, Haliburton regions, Ottawa, Ottawa Valley, because you are looking at the combination of snow and wind, treacherous conditions, Ottawa during the winter storm warning, Montreal and Quebec City right towards the Saguenay region, clean on over towards Gaspé. So this is a big storm system, but it is moving its way over to Atlantic Canada as well. Here's another look at Brampton, and this is what we're talking about when I said you must pack yourself a shovel as well if you have to go out, because this is the kind of snow that gets right into your wheel wells, and low riding cars particularly are going to be adverse. But once you start getting more than 25 centimeters of snow, well, then that starts impacting even the higher vehicles. So if you're in an SUV, you're certainly not invincible. All right, so towards the east coast here, because we've had some questions. What's this going to be like for Atlantic Canada? Well, the snow is moving in this morning and afternoon. It's going to intensify through the course of the day today. Now, note these colors here, the oranges, the pinks. That's that ice pellets, freezing rain, and even rain showers down towards southwestern areas of Nova Scotia. So that's that messy mix. We've got quite a few school closures as well. Nova Scotia, much of New Brunswick, and PEI. So this starts as snow, but changes quicker over in the south. So a little warmer air, you get that mixed precipitation, and across Newfoundland as well. Starts as snow, but then likely through tomorrow morning, could see some of that mixing from Marystown to St. John's, Corner Brook. This is going to be more snow for you. And then those winds are going to pick up tonight through Friday and even into Saturday. So those winds will be whistling across the Gulf of St. Lawrence. This will mean more snow squalls, so you're going to get battered again in Corner Brook and the Cape Breton Highlands. And there's going to be another snowstorm headed your way late Sunday, likely by the looks of things. So we've got about 5 centimeters or less for Halifax, but you get across the Bay of Fundy, those accumulations get a bit higher. Fredericton and north, that's where we see the heaviest amounts of snow. PEI, you got a good swath coming your way, anywhere from 20 plus centimeters in Prince County to maybe 10 centimeters down in Kings County, and across Newfoundland as well. They're 20, 35 plus. My goodness, Western Newfoundland, you've really had a lot of snow lately, and well, that trend will continue. Okay, so Nadine Powell, we're back to you. We've been talking about bus cancellations, flight delays, school closures. So if you don't have to be out and about, let's just enjoy the storm.
Yeah, Chris, and there are, of course, a couple of hazards we always have to keep in mind as well. The snow belts, they have been on the receiving end of lake effect snow all season long, so they already have quite the base. But across much of southern Ontario, this is the first big taste for us, and we still have more snow to come. We've got some blowing snow and drifting snow that'll take us through the day today into tomorrow. And then we've got another system on tap for us. So you can see there, this one coming in as we head Saturday into Sunday. This is going to bring perhaps an additional 15 to 30, 10 to 20 centimeters of snowfall, Ontario and Quebec. So a couple of the hazards associated with that, of course, the vents around your home, we've got to make sure those are clear. And when you've parked your car, you don't want to leave your car running, and you've got to check that the exhaust pipe is cleared of any sort of blockage from the snow, because of course carbon monoxide poisoning is a very serious and deadly hazard. So coming off of that very serious note, we're going to head on back out to Michael Van. Michael, you are in downtown Toronto in the thick of the snow.
Absolutely. And speaking of the thick of the snow, you can probably see behind me, there are crews out here working diligently to clear up this massive amount of snow. I feel a little bit bad for these guys. Honestly, they're pushing those snow blowers real hard and not getting very far so far this morning. This is just epic amounts of snow that we're talking about here. I actually was dredging myself over there just a couple minutes ago to grab a photo. And honestly, just getting there and back was an intense workout. You can probably hear I'm a little bit more winded at this point, and that's just from crossing the rink here and heading back to take a photo and coming back over here. So, but if you are at home and you do have to get out and shovel this morning, take your time. And unfortunately, we've got another system right behind this one. So you might be looking at shoveling more than 35 plus centimeters of snowfall just this week alone, Nadine.
Yeah, certainly so. And for anyone across, say, the GTA areas to the west, and they're wondering if I can get out and shovel, is it done? Well, it is coming to an end. So I would say if you get out and shovel now, any sort of additional snowfall won't be significant on top of what we've already got. But certainly that snow that we have now isn't going anywhere anytime soon, because we've got cold air sticking around, settling in the region all through next week. And you can see this cold is widespread across the country too. So certainly this is going to be quite the winter event for us still to come. Want to head back over to Mark Robinson. Mark, you've got Carrie Schmidt with you. What's the story now?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's funny that you're talking about how cold it is, because I think this is something that's been somewhat unusual this year, is to stay well below that freezing. So all the snow that has landed is going to stick around. And Carrie, I got to ask you a little bit about that. How are we doing with the snow so far and with the traffic?
Well, it's certainly flowing right now beside us. Traffic is going maybe faster than what they think they should be, and they hit the ramp or you hit an unexpected slowdown, and you're going to be sliding. We've got about 50 crashes or disabled vehicles or vehicles stuck in snow kind of across the GTA right now, which is a lot, maybe typical for a snowstorm, but again, because the snow isn't coming down, it's getting brighter, people are getting more confident, they think the roads are in good condition, until you look down and you see the amount of snow that's on these shoulders and on these ramps and on the windrows that have yet to be plowed, because the plows can't get to them because of other vehicles that are stuck on shoulders and ramps. And so it's a comedy of errors here when it comes to what do we do? How do we want people to stay home until the highways are plowed and cleared, and now we're trying to clean up all the vehicles that are stuck in snowbanks and windrowed in, and now they're basically boxed in until they get winched out and the plows can come through again.
But so far, no very serious accidents. We always hear about this, very serious accident, 50-car pileups, that sort of thing. So far, so good.
Yeah, it is. But one thing I will tell you, in history, during a snow event and immediately after the snow event, traffic is moving a lot slower. Once we get some bare, dry, wet roads and the sun is up, people will be back at full speed, and that's when we certainly get the more serious collisions, the rollovers, or even the serious injury crashes. That will come later as the speeds increase, and we're seeing the speeds starting to increase. So as the morning rush kind of evaporates, the roads become apparently just wet, but we're still down below zero. We're still in freezing temperature mode. People get more confidence than what their vehicles or their abilities are, and that's when we get problems.
Yeah, so definitely, Chris, speed kills. And so just keep it easy. Even if you think everything's done, just keep it slow. And we don't want to be having to deal with you in a crash or anybody in the ditch. So please just keep it easy until the roads are clear and safe. Murph?
Yeah, one step forward, two step backwards. That's what it kind of feels like. And, often also after the storm, you want to make sure your windshield washer fluid, like for tomorrow, because you get all that spray up from the roads as well, or tonight. Speaking of delays, so I don't expect you to read this map, but just to show you that at Pearson there are still numerous delays and cancellations. Same story in Montreal. So bottom line is you want to be calling ahead. I don't think that should come as a shock considering the conditions out there. Snowfall warnings continue around the GTA eastwards, freezing rain warnings around the Niagara region, so that's for a little slippery conditions for a while before that ends as some snow showers. Snow squall watches now downwind of Georgian Bay and Lake Huron, so that will be picking up in the wake of this storm because those cold winds blow across the open waters. And then you got snowfall warnings up towards North Bay and Sudbury. You got winter storm warnings as you go east of Lake Simcoe all the way up across Quebec City to the Saguenay region. Again, the combination of lots of snow, strong winds blowing it around, and take a look at Atlantic Canada. At Fredericton and North, snowfall warnings, Prince County and PEI snowfall warnings, special weather statements elsewhere, and then the freezing rain as well. And that'll be about 4 hours worth or so this afternoon in western Nova Scotia, this evening in central Nova Scotia. And then Newfoundland, you've got blowing snow and winter storm warnings because those winds pick up. As this storm departs, this is Valentine's Day, this is what's coming in late Friday, Saturday, and then a couple of systems coming in that will bring more snow. So this will likely again impact flights, it will impact ferries, it will impact travel, whether it's by sea, by land, or by air. So lots going on. All right, Michael Van. Here I am talking about the next storm. We're not even done this storm. You're down at Nathan Phillips Square. It is a winter wonderland out there. Is it quieter than usual? I mean, this is usually a pretty bustling area at this time of the morning, one would think.
It is definitely quieter than usual, so that gives me some faith that people did heed those warnings and stay at home to work from home today. Now, you mentioned it being quiet there for a second. It wasn't all that quiet because of all the work these guys are doing behind me, working to get the skating rink cleared of snow. We're talking, a good 15, 20 centimeters that have built up over on the skating rink here. Honestly, watching them work, I do not envy them this morning. It is a lot of work. It's honestly probably taken him about 5 to 10 minutes just to get that first line across there. And it sometimes it seems like a little bit of an exercise in futility at this point, but I am super grateful that we do have people out on the roads, out on the sidewalks, clearing our ways so that the city can eventually get back to normal, hopefully just ahead of that next system.
No, Michael, let's focus on the positive. I've got a lot of friends who work in winter maintenance. In years when there's not much snow, of course, their business hurts and that affects their pocketbook. So in one respect, this is a real bonanza for certainly a lot of industries.
Absolutely, and there are a lot of industries that sort of thrive during this time. One of which is the TTC. I got a chance to catch up with the representatives from the TTC yesterday, and they were talking about how this is sort of like their Super Bowl. They train for this. They're prepared for this. They want to get the city moving and staying on track. And so, it's great to see those entities, those businesses that really do thrive within these winter weather events.
Oh yeah, absolutely. This is going to be some good news for a lot of places. I mean, it's winter, and we knew this was coming. And it's not just in Ontario, but it's in Quebec. It's eastwards as well. Meanwhile, and what's helping to charge up this storm system is the frigid air in the prairies as well. We've got a lot of cold weather alerts there. And when you get the collision of these air masses from the north and warmer air from the south, this can spawn these big winter storms like Colorado lows and Texas lows. All right, let's go back to the highway now. We've got Mark Robinson with Sergeant Carrie Schmidt from the Ontario Provincial Police. And did we get, what's the progress now regarding the incidents you had earlier there, Mark?
You know what, Chris? The truck is still sitting there, and we're waiting for the tow trucks to come. Now, Carrie, let's talk a little bit about what happens if this happens to you. What should you do if you're, say, in the GTA, or there's gonna be a lot of people outside the GTA. Let me know.
Yeah, if you're down in a ditch someplace, you go in backwards. Again, one thing you got to be aware of is your exhaust and whether or not it's coming back into your cabin. Make sure your exhaust pipe is still clear. If your engine is running, we want you to stay warm. You want you to keep your lights on. We don't want you to put yourself in hazard or in jeopardy. We've had plenty of situations where people have been stranded, even in the GTA, for hours and hours on end. So just you want to stay warm, but you also want to stay healthy and not get carbon monoxide poisoning. Have an emergency kit in your vehicle. Keep your vehicle as illuminated as possible. Forward flashing lights on, your headlights on, everything on. If you're in your vehicle and you're near a live lane, stay in your vehicle with your seatbelt on, with the ignition turned on. So if there was the worst case scenario, you get struck, your airbags will still activate, and the other safety systems will still be in place. If you're just sitting there loose, again, you're going to become a projectile. Emergency kit in your vehicle is always a great idea as well. So those extra boots, you probably didn't go to work in boots and a big parka, but if you're stuck, you're going to wish you had. And if you have to, get out as the tow truck arrives, and once we get protection around us, you're going to be walking around. You don't want to be in your beautiful, office shoes and high heels. It's not going to be the way to get around. So just be prepared. Have an emergency kit and understand it can happen anywhere.
Yeah. Now, the thing of getting out, we see this all the time. People get out. You were talking about an incident on the 407 last night.
Yeah, we don't want pedestrians on the highway. So as much as people want to maybe go speak to the other vehicle driver, exchange information, if you wiped out and you get out of your vehicle, who's to say someone else from behind might not do the exact same thing? And if you're a pedestrian, you're going to be vulnerable to injury, and that is something we don't want to see happen. So, you open your windows, yell to the driver, I'll meet you at the exit, I'll meet you at the gas station, the car lot, and we'll do our insurance and our exchange of information there, as long as your vehicle is drivable. If you're not drivable, of course, get on the phone, 911. If you're on a provincial highway, you can call star OPP on your cell phone as well in Ontario, and we'll get resources to you as well. Again, we got protection here right now with our blocker trucks. You know, we're here protecting and waiting for services to get this truck out of the way so the plows can get moving. But behind us, traffic is getting faster, and that's the scary thing, because people start getting distracted by what's going on around us.
Yeah, so Dean, definitely safety first if you are driving out and about today, so just keep that in mind. It's going to take you a little longer to get to work, but please take that little bit of time, a little bit extra time to get to work. We don't want to see you in the ditch.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mark, and thanks to Carrie Schmidt, OPP officer, some absolute critical safety advice that we always want to keep in mind, regardless of whatever weather we find ourselves out there in. You can see here, of course, snowfall is tapering across the GTA. We're still looking at a bit of freezing rain around the Niagara region for us, and some of that snowfall still across, say, the east end of the city, pushing off toward parts of eastern Ontario, where they're still into the thick of the snow. This was the drive for many earlier. See scenes here from Toronto. Snow-covered roads for us. This, of course, was yesterday. The snow started late afternoon and really picked up into the evening and overnight. And you can see that these roads, snow-covered, they have been plowed a couple of times, but certainly with the snow that continued throughout the overnight, they piled on again. And now we are looking at the cleanup for us as the snowfall begins to come to an end for us. But then there is still more snow on the way. You can see here as we head into the weekend, we're looking ahead to the weekend, and we're tapping into that cold air. We're tapping into that Pacific moisture from the generation of that storm, and also moisture from the Gulf of Mexico. And speaking of cold air, this is some widespread cold for us across a large chunk of the country. The prairies, they have been in that cold for quite some time. We've been seeing extreme cold warnings there through especially Saskatchewan and to Manitoba and even into BC, although for BC, they are beginning to climb out of their cold. Their pattern is changing. Your pattern is changing in BC, where you've been dry, you've been sunny, and now as we head into the weekend and into the beginning of next week, we're starting to see more moisture come into the picture for us. So we actually will be into some rain. So for instance, Vancouver, 7-day forecast for us. You can see here Friday, that's the last day when you get into some of that sunshine. You get some cloud cover building in. Temperatures are still a little bit on the cool side, below seasonal, but you can see heading into the beginning to middle of next week, that's when we start to see temperatures coming up to seasonal values for us back into the West Coast. So still a lot of active weather for us to cover right across the country. Still do have that next system to be coming in. Chris, I don't know. It seems like, you know, we've passed the halfway mark of winter, and winter just he woke up and said, hey, did I miss the party? Wait for me.
Yeah, that's right. Winter's out of hibernation, to be sure. And, you know, you're feeling it as well. Just want to show you, like, Edmonton's 7-day forecast. As I was talking about how it's that cold air from the prairies as it surges southwards, charges up these storms that come up from the Gulf, right? So Edmonton, I mean, look at your next 7 days. Until next Tuesday, you are pretty much in those frigid air. This is well below seasonal values. Winnipeg as well, you're going to be dealing with a lot of that cold air. So you may not get as much snow, but you're still going to be in. Snow is coming down. We're going to give you some updated snow totals. At last check, it was 23 centimeters, but the new returns will be coming in at the top of the hour here. But look, you've got some cold air. So all that additional snow coming into the weekend, plus what's falling today, that is not melting anytime soon. But what a bonanza has been on the Rideau Canal this year, because we've had one of our best skating years in quite some time. Okay, so that's a keep in mind. Expecting picking up or dropping off anyone at the airport, call ahead. A lot of delays, Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal to be sure. And there are numerous school closures in Ontario, Quebec, as well as portions of the East Coast. All right, Michael Van, we go to you. Now, Michael, you were saying earlier, you know, you're from the U.S., the southern U.S. I'm thinking you probably didn't get a lot of snow days as a result of the snow. So this is what it looks like for kids when they can get a snow day, just like this.
Absolutely, and I'm sure they are loving it this morning just like I am. Now, we started the shot off on the clock tower here. Just to give you an idea, it is 8 a.m. and all is quiet in downtown Toronto except for the sounds of snow clearing. Those snow plows those snow blowing machines. There's quite a lot of that actually happening right here where I am in Nathan Phillips Square. Now, maybe not the most fun to be out clearing the snow this morning, but these guys have got to love it too, though. It's like they sign up for these jobs, so they really have to enjoy being out in the elements in order to commit to doing these big jobs. Now, you probably just saw there, they've gotten the big guns now out on to clear the ice rink here. So who knows, maybe there'll be some ice skating happening down here later. I mean, you got, it's a winter wonderland down here, so why wouldn't you want to? But as you can see, if you can get out and about, this is some really deep, fun snow to be able to get out and enjoy. Now, making a snowball, maybe not the best thing with this type of snow, but it is holding its structure just a little bit. I'm really tempted to throw one at my camera guy, Manny, right now, but I'm not going to do it because of the camera. That's the only reason. But as soon as you step away, actually, I'll just get a little one right there.
Yes.
I'll go low. I can't help it. I can't help myself.
Yeah, the snow does bring out...
The kid in me just comes out in the snowfall.
That's it. The snow brings out the mischievous side in all of us, Michael. So good to see, but, if you don't have to be out on the roads, if you take nothing else from me, I would say the closer you can keep it to home, the better off, even as the snow is tapering off west to east. Now, I'm going to update these totals again, but this was as of about 7 a.m., had 26 centimeters at Pearson, 23 in Ottawa, 13 in Montreal, but we've been adding to those totals, especially in eastern Ontario and Quebec, because that's where the heaviest snow is falling now, not so much in the southwest. Now, Patrick Delbefoy, he works for Meteo Media, which is a sister station here at the Weather Network. This is what it was like earlier on in Montreal.
The snow started late last night and intensified overnight. We have close to 10 centimeters that fell over Montreal. You can see this is Highway de Carry. It's usually bumper to bumper at this time in the morning, but already we are we heard about accidents and people that left the road and got in the ditch. The roads are not necessarily very slippery because it's a dry snow. It's minus 10 degrees right now, but it's the visibility that seems to be a problem around the Montreal area. So necessarily keep a distance between your car and the car in front, and it's going to go on like this for the snow most of the morning until early afternoon, so beware of that.
All right, so still a couple of areas of concern across the western end of Lake Ontario, despite the fact that the snow is easing and coming to an end. But you see there around the Niagara region, we're focusing on that pink. That's where we still do have that freezing rain warning. That pink is an indication of that mixed precipitation across the area. So that, of course, makes things quite slick. So we have that freezing rain on top of the snow that we've had across the area for us since earlier this morning and last night. And you can see even across east of Toronto toward Oshawa. So you can see here the latest scan on this radar just coming through from Ajax along the 401, extending into Oshawa, extending eastward. That's where we are starting to see that little bit of a warmth nudging in. So we're starting to see a bit of a transition over to that mix, that freezing rain coming in there across that region. So this is where conditions will be a bit on the slick side with that addition of the freezing rain. But certainly across much of the GTA and back toward the southwest, things are drying up and things are tapering off. Although the thing that we've got to worry about now moving forward through the rest of today for much of, say, Toronto and westward will be the winds and the blowing snow. The heaviest snowfall continuing through the Ottawa area and through southern Quebec, and this is essentially going to continue for the next few hours. And as we head into the afternoon, we will see if that snowfall begin to ease in intensity across Ottawa, Montreal, and much of southern Quebec. By tonight, that should be a done deal. But they too will be into some windy conditions for us. So speaking of that wind for us, and in terms of the timing, you can see there through the next couple of hours, we're in the 8 o'clock hour now, we're heading through 9. The back edge of that snow, the system just moving out of the GTA to the east now. Still a bit of that mixing up towards, say, Kingston, Gananoque, Cornwall region. Ottawa looks like it will stay as all snow, so not likely to be getting into that warm tongue there that will bring that mixing coming through. And as we head into Quebec as well, through the afternoon and evening, that's when things begin to wind down. But as we look toward the west now, you'll see across the shores of Lake Huron and into Georgian Bay now, we are getting into that wind shift for us out of the northwest, and we will see those gusts 40 to 60 kilometers per hour. So that lake effect will be setting up. We do have some snow squall watches in place for us, and this might be upgraded to a warning for the rest of today. This takes us into the overnight tonight and for tomorrow morning before it ends off. Blowing and drifting snow will be an issue for all of southern Ontario. Michael Van, you are in downtown Toronto. Of course, we're hearing all the snow clearing efforts ongoing behind you there. And this is going to be, I have to say, Michael, this is one of the things that I like about snowstorms, because a lot of the time, it's cold during the winter. You just say hi bye to your neighbor and you run inside, but then you have to get out and clear your roads, your driveways, the sidewalks. And that's the time when you see your neighbor that you haven't seen in quite some time. You stop and you start to chat. Hey, quite the snowstorm, eh?
Absolutely. You know what? It does bring us all together in a sense, because it's a shared experience. It's that iconic Canadian experience. Even just this morning, I honestly was surprised. I was leaving my place around 5:30 this morning, and there were a couple of people that got on the elevator with me. Normally at that time, I don't see anyone. And, one person was going to the gym. The other guy's headed to work early because, he heeded our warning and made certain that he had plenty of time. But, the thing about it is the topic on everyone's mind this morning is obviously the sheer amount of snowfall that we've seen from this system. And of course, that means a lot of snow clearing efforts. You can probably hear just to my right here, you can actually see where they are working diligently. They've got the big tractor out now. You can see the Zamboni there clearing and getting this skating rink ready once again to eventually be skated on. I think we've got a while to go before we reach that point. But you can also probably tell beyond just the sounds of the snowplows, it's relatively quiet downtown, so hopefully that means a lot of people are staying off the roadways this morning. They've heeded our warning, and they are working from home today.
Well, indeed. I think from what I've been hearing, Michael, talking with Mark Robinson, traffic is lighter than normal. It's very slow, but it is lighter than normal. I'm just able to get some of the more recent unofficial totals here. And Toronto hasn't changed, 26 centimeters of snow, so that tells us that the snow is winding down. Ottawa's picked up a couple more centimeters at the last hour. You're at 25 centimeters. In Montreal, you picked up a couple more. You're at 15, and same story, Quebec City at 6 centimeters. London, of course, you had the snow and the freezing drizzle. And up towards Brussels, we had about 21 centimeters of snow. Wyerton, I believe you've got about 16 centimeters of snow or so. So this storm system, which is moving out of Ontario west to east through to today in Quebec, certainly going to be impacting the Maritimes this afternoon and tonight, Newfoundland overnight and tomorrow. As that departs, very strong winds across the east coast. And here's a look at the next one coming in for Saturday, and then more snow for Sunday as well. And you'll note there'll be likely again the risk of freezing rain down towards Nova Scotia, just as there is later today. So winter is, if you thought winter was a little slow, it is making up for lost time, because instead of Alberta clippers, we're now getting these much larger, moisture-laden storm systems that emanate closer to the Gulf. Okay, Mark Robinson has been a busy one this morning, traveling around, giving good advice, talking with Sergeant Carrie Schmidt from the Ontario Provincial Police. The message on point: if you don't have to be out, don't be out. But Mark, what is the latest? Whereabouts are you? Looks like you're back on the road again. Where are you now?
Yeah, Chris, I'm actually in the my old neighborhood in Etobicoke near Centennial Hill. If you know the area,
I do.
I just want to show you some of the plowed roads, some of the streets, and as we've been driving down here, we're looking at some of the side streets, and you can see where they have not been plowed, and you're getting these big windrows at the ends of these smaller streets. I haven't seen anybody stuck yet, but I would not be surprised to see someone stuck there. Very light traffic on these smaller roads. Highways were really starting to move once, as we sort of got out of there. Coming down Renforth right now, and it's nice to see that there's just not that many people out. People, I think, took this storm seriously and decided to stay home. I mean, the best thing you can do is stay home. You're not going to get stuck in the ditch if you're at home, and that's that's so far, as I said, we're seeing a pretty good clearing of the main roads, but those side roads are a lot more iffy. We're going to travel down likely to Bloor just to sort of see how that is, how clear that is, because that's one of the main arteries through the city. If you're not taking the 401 or Lakeshore or the QEW. So Murph, I'll let you. I'll send it back to you while I try to make it through these big snow drifts in front of me.
Yeah, just sit back and let Mark go. I mean, after all, there's really nowhere to be because there's nowhere to go. A lot of places are closed down, a lot of schools, a lot of public services. I was just looking at Mississauga there. The libraries are closed, the skating rinks are closed, a lot of the public services are closed. I mean, that's not just in Mississauga, that's just an example. The TTC, they're talking about significant delays across their entire streetcar network because of the weather, and also Go Transit is also running on a sort of a special schedule as well. So we've got, we're still dealing with this storm before we even get to the next one. I know we're going to get storm weary after all this. It's going to be, you're going to be saying this. Where am I going to put all of this snow? Because the snow banks at the end of the driveways, they're getting a lot higher. And just a personal plea, if maybe you have an elderly neighbor and you're young and fit, maybe help them out as well, because that could be the difference between accessibility is key. We don't know who's relying on a wheelchair. You want to make sure that you clear your sidewalk as well. So we got to look out for each other because Mother Nature seems to be in a pretty sinister mood these days. All right, Nadine Powell. Wow, Storm Center coverage continues here at the Weather Network. What's the latest with you?
Chris, before I move on to the radar, I just want to add to what you were saying there. The snowbanks are piling up. Be mindful of the little ones who aren't as high. So when you're backing out of your driveway and the little ones are walking along, you can't see them. So just keep them in mind, and like everyone else, because they're tiny, they're a little bit below those snowbanks. So getting to the radar imagery for us, you can see that's what it's looking like across much of southern Ontario, like Toronto. We're seeing the bulk of this snow now spread into Atlantic Canada. This is quite the expanse of the snowfall, all the way from southern Ontario into the Maritimes. This is, call it 1,600 kilometers in terms of that span of that snowfall, and that's just the cold component of the storm. If I zoom out now and I show you the warm component along the cold front, you can see this extends all the way down along the eastern seaboard, where we've got heavy rain and some more intense activity going on there along that cold front. Now, in terms of what we've got going on across much of southern Ontario, from east to west. So the east, we are still into very much a thick of that snowfall, Ottawa through Cornwall, Hawkesbury, and heading into the Montreal area. Starting to break up now, so travel along, say, Highway 7, the 401, looking at some breaks in the precipitation because it is easing off. But now you see here, just east of Toronto, heading toward Ajax, toward Oshawa, Cobourg, a little bit of that warmth, that freezing precipitation is nudging into the region right there. It's not expected to extend any farther north than that, but certainly freezing rain is one of those very dangerous types of precipitation. And we see it around the Niagara region as well, where for us in the Grimsby region, an update as of 7 a.m., they had 2 centimeters of snow, 1 centimeter of ice pellets, and 5 millimeters of freezing rain and freezing drizzle. So quite the mix and variation depending on where you are across the region. But Michael, certainly this has been primarily a snow story for much of the region.
Absolutely, and that obviously that snow story really does continue. We do still have a little bit of snow coming down here, but that story continues as we look at those winds picking up and potentially tossing that snow around. As you can see, I'll pick up a little snow here, just how light and fluffy this snow is. So it's not going to take a lot to pick that snow up and toss it around. And in addition to that, they are plowing across the city. So you're going to have those massive mounds that have been plowed up Now, I was actually speaking with the City of Toronto officials yesterday to talk about the emergency event that was put into a place across the city that allows them to initiate all of the snow clearing operations to go full force. But one of the key points that the city made to me yesterday was the fact that after this event, we're no longer in just snow clearing. We're talking snow removal. We can't just push the snow to the side in the city of Toronto any longer. We've gotten to the point where that snow actually has to be removed from the city streets because it just becomes too dangerous. You get these massive piles that are blocking sidewalks. They're, blocking visibility when it comes to cars trying to turn. So it really does become a hazard. So they will, as we head into the weekend, they will be looking at snow removal operations. Mark, over to you.
Yeah, Michael, you're talking about snow removal operations, and I am traveling through some of the side streets because I really wanted to give our viewers an idea of what we're seeing on the side streets. You gotta, sometimes get this idea that if you're on the 401 or some of the main roads, that everything is fine, and it really, really isn't. This is one of the larger streets right here, and you can see it's not plowed. It's not too bad. You can kind of get down it, but I'm going to make just a slight turn, right-hand turn down this street right here. This is an area I know very well because this is my old neighborhood. But you can kind of see right in front of me. You're looking at that, that full amount of snow. Lots of people out and about beginning to shovel or run their snow plows. But even just getting anywhere around the smaller streets it's a bit of a risk. Even with the vehicle I'm in, it could easily get stuck here. So I'm not going to spend too much time on these side streets. But I did want just to show what it's like here and why we've been saying, don't even bother going out until the plows can get down these streets, because you're more likely to get stuck on a street like this than you are on, say, Bloor Street or on the QEW or on the Gardner. And these are the ones that, of course, take the longest to get plows out to and get it all cleared up. Now, some areas do better than others, but yeah, this is the kind of thing that you want to be very, very careful of. You can sort of see down the street here, and you can see everybody working away, snow plowing, or excuse me, snow blowing the roads or their driveways. But yeah, I can only go one way. Like if there was another car coming the other way, I'm not sure how we'd get around each other. So I'm just going to get off of this street, get on back onto the main streets, because I think I don't really want to be stuck on these side streets for the rest of the day. So I'll send it back into the studio while I try to get back to a little bit more of a cleared road.
All right, safe travels, Mark. Safe travels to all of you at home, and don't forget to carry one of these with you. You heard Mark say if you get stuck, you might have to dig yourself out. Here's another thing too. Do you have a fire hydrant on your property as well? Now, I know this is a big ask because there's a lot of snow, but you want to make sure you clear that out, because the difference in a couple of minutes between you clearing out and having an accessible fire hydrant to the fire department looking around, finding it, and then having to dig it out could be the difference between a home burning and a home being saved. Okay, let's take a look once more time. We got some recent snow totals, but just want to show you some video here. Go back to Toronto, and this is the scene earlier this morning, all that fresh snow. It looks pretty, doesn't it? But again, it's the compaction on the roads that really can make things slippery and hard to negotiate, getting stuck as well on those some of those side roads and unplowed. And it's not just the city, right up towards Lake Simcoe, across the Kawartha Lakes, westwards. We've got renewed threat of lake effect snow coming back up Georgian Bay and Lake Huron. 26 centimeters of snowfall in Toronto. I'm going to have to hit the books and see if this has been the biggest single one since the one a few years ago that dumped, well, officially it was 33 centimeters of snow at Pearson, but everywhere else it was 40 or 50. Ottawa at 25 centimeters, Montreal at 15. Again, it's coming down. We've got, numerous school closures, flight delays out of some of those big airports. And, this is a large, massive storm system that big wingspan. The leading edge of that snow is just starting to creep into the Maritimes now. And the trailing end of that snow, well, it's basically southwestern Ontario, which is getting out of the worst of it. But it's the aftermath. The damage has been done. So that means getting around is still going to take some time yet. All right, Nathan Coleman standing by. Let's hear from him as he's, I'm certainly anticipating the incoming system.
Well, a freezing rain warning in effect here in Halifax. We'll start with some snow and ice pellets, but then we'll have that transition. We'll get that icy buildup, icy surfaces. The Halifax Regional Centre for Education not taking any chances with a early dismissal for the students, so they'll be home safe, and you should do so as well. You want to stay off the roads during this period because it can get quite slick out there, and you also want to prepare for the potential of power outages because this could cause some ice accretion on the power lines, and we're expecting winds to pick up as well. And so that generally results in outages, so you do want to have a plan and prepare for that. And you just want to have some extra salt or sand on hand for your driveway because it is going to be slick.
Absolutely, yes, it is. So all the things that you would normally prepare for like a nor'easter, you want to be prepared for that as well. So we take a look. There's the snow moving in. Now again, Fredericton and north, this is primarily a snowstorm, and you can get 20, 30 plus centimeters. It's when you get south of there, that's when you get snow changing to ice pellets, potentially that freezing rain that Nate was talking about, including, western and central Nova Scotia, even rain showers as well. Now that moves into Newfoundland overnight tonight through tomorrow. If you're in western Newfoundland, all snow. Eastern Newfoundland, though, this could be snow changing over to rain with an icy mix in transition. And then those strong winds, 80, 90 plus kilometer per hour winds Friday, even into Saturday. So there's that risk of power outages. And then, of course, another storm system coming for the weekend. All right, so Nadine Powell, there's a quick look. I gave a little snippet of what's heading to the East Coast. Still not done, though, in parts of Ontario and Quebec, although certainly areas are improving in terms of the intensity of the precipitation around the GTA and points west.
Yeah, certainly so. I mean, we see that depiction on the radar imagery where a lot of that snowfall is breaking up across the region because the bulk of it is off toward the east. Still a little bit of freezing rain, the 401 heading into eastern Ontario and around the Niagara region. So that makes things additionally slick on the roads, while the snowfall will come to an end across much of southern Ontario and the GTA throughout the day today. The winds will be picking up, so blowing and drifting snow will be a problem. We'll head on outside to Michael Van in downtown Toronto. Michael, snow clearing efforts, that's going to be, I guess, the focus of everything today.
Absolutely, and quite honestly, it's going to take a long time to get those sidewalks and those roadways clear. And as you can see around me, it's pretty quiet downtown today, but I did manage to grab a passerby. This is Haley. Haley, you have been headed into work this morning. You said it's about a 20-minute journey for you here to get downtown. So talk me through your experience in getting here this morning.
So what typically takes 20 minutes has now taken me about 30. I have to kind of climb over all of the roadways of there's just mountains of snow everywhere, and walking through the slush and trying not to slip is a little difficult.
So what was it like when you first stepped out this morning? Were you a little surprised to see just how much snow is on the ground?
Yeah, in my experience, Toronto's pretty quick to clear everything. They're doing a very good job, by the way, but I wasn't expecting there to be so much left over still.
Yep, well, when you have that much snow coming so fast in the overnight hours, right? So, you're actually headed into work today. It sounds like you heeded the warnings and you didn't drive today, correct? You just took you just walked or took the TTC?
Just walking today, yeah.
Excellent, great. Well, that is the name of the game for today, is to make certain that you don't drive if you don't have to. Haley, we will let you get on with your day and head to work. Thank you so much for stopping and chatting with us, and stay safe out there, okay?
Yes,
awesome.
you as well.
All right. Well, Haley has done the right thing this morning. She has come to work on foot. Like she said, it took an extra, an extra 50% of time. If it normally takes her 20 minutes, we're talking 30 minutes, which is about the same. That was about my experience this morning as well. And like she mentioned, crews are out there. They are doing a good job of getting pathways clear, but it may not be the same pathway that you normally take to work. So make sure you give yourself that extra time, and the crews are going to continue to work through the next 24, 48, 72 hours to get those roadways clear, to get those sidewalks clear, so that the city can get back to normal. And, we've got just another system right around the corner as we head into the weekend that we are keeping a very, very close eye on.
Michael, you mentioned that other system. I'll just bring it up right now, and we'll sort of give a little bit of a comparison between what we are experiencing now and what is still to come. So essentially, the current system that is moving out of Ontario but into Quebec and Atlantic Canada, that's what we call a Texas low. So the genesis of that storm was in the Texas region, tapping into a lot of moisture from the Gulf of Mexico. And we've been in an active pattern for the past week or so. But the difference now with the incoming system as we head into this weekend, it's tracking in from the source region a little bit farther north. So we've got cold air, we've got moisture from the Gulf as well, and some Pacific moisture coming through. So you'll see here, once we head Saturday and into Sunday, a similar story, similar pattern to that system moving into the area where we're going to see a widespread swath of heavy snowfall across Ontario, Quebec, and eventually that'll push into Atlantic Canada as well. So we are looking at, of course, it is still early days and we're fine-tuning the track, but it looks like it's going to be another shovel event for much of Ontario and into Eastern Canada. Conditions across the west, they have definitely been on the cold side. We've been seeing some extreme cold warnings for us, particularly Saskatchewan and Manitoba, where we've seen overnight lows in the -30s for us. And that cold air really across a wide swath of the country, although perhaps not to that extreme. And the snow that we have in Ontario and Eastern Canada in the coming days, that's not going anywhere anytime soon, because we're actually seeing our temperatures drop below seasonal into the coming days. Bit of a change in the pattern though for the west coast. They've been cold, but they are seeing their temperatures bump up now, coming back closer to seasonal values. And we've been dry for this week, but now as we get into the end of the weekend and into the beginning of next week, we've got some moisture moving in. So atmospheric moisture here showing us Pacific moisture coming onto the coast for us. So that means that not only do our temperatures bump up to seasonal values, which is around, say, that 7-8 degree range, but we'll get into that rainfall. And because, of course, freezing levels will be rising, temperatures are warming up, the precipitation, Chris, that will be coming in will be in the form of rain as opposed to snow that we've seen in recent events for the lower mainland.
All right. Well, there's something to be said about that, to be sure. There is a good question that I'm going to pose that a viewer asked, and I'm going to pose it to Mark Robinson in just a second. But just to show you how much snow, there are 26 centimeters in Toronto, 25 in Ottawa, and 15 in Montreal. Now, of course, in Ottawa, in particular in Montreal, it's still coming down. In Toronto, it looks like this is winding down, maybe squeezing out another centimeter or two. That looks to be about it. So the question is, where does the snow go when it is removed? Now, of course, that would depend where one lives, because they all have different practices, I'm sure. But I'm going to ask you, Mark, where does the snow go when it is removed?
Well, most of it goes into my driveway when the plow goes by. No, I'm kidding, Chris. No, actually, it is interesting. There are a number of collection spots around the city that the snow will go there. It'll be allowed to melt. I know a couple of years ago, when I was living in the Junction, there was a spot near me, and quite literally, there was still snow there, still ice there in June. That's how big some of these places can get. And of course, when you're talking about large parking lots, like I'm standing right now, Chris, you can just imagine how much snow. This is from one parking lot in Etobicoke, and this is just one. Now imagine all of this snow having to be put in different places. Where I live now in Guelph, very close to me, there's a very large melt pad that they've built there to allow the snow to slowly melt away, but at the same time collect all the things, the chemicals that are in the snow. I mean, keep in mind, we put lots of salt down. It all gets plowed up with this, and the best way to do it is to try and collect as much salt, as much pollution, oils, and all the little things that can be trapped inside the snow. And that's what they do in Guelph, is just to try and make sure of that, so it's not getting into the rivers around that city. But right now, Chris, you know what I have to do, right? You know I'm going to have to jump and slide down here just to give you an idea. So here we go. Back inside to you guys.
Nice. Mark is having fun in the snow. That's what we want to see. There you go. He's his own toboggan, folks. And one of the reasons why we're seeing these larger storm systems is that, first of all, the configuration of the jet stream has changed dramatically now than it was for most of July. That's allowing a lot of this cold air, these minus 45 and minus 50 wind chills in Yellowknife and Churchill. Well, of course, it gets modified as it gets towards the, the warming centers, you can call the Great Lakes. But still, that is that cold air, and that is helping to collide and charge up these storm systems chugging up from the U.S. that bring their Gulf moisture, the Gulf of Mexico moisture, and that changes rain to snow. I mean, look at Winnipeg right now, minus 38 wind chill. I mentioned Yellowknife, and you get over towards Toronto, that minus 8 feels like minus 17. So you've got that cold air. Well, look what's going to happen. Are we going to get another collision of the air masses? We will. Saturday into Sunday, there's another branch of cold air, another injection of warmer air coming in from the south. That's likely going to set up another snowstorm this weekend and potentially even some freezing rain. And then following that, you get a nice little visit from that polar air, and that'll put you back into the minus double digits. But, if you're in Edmonton, you're going to miss out on the big snow. You get these little snowfalls, but the cold air, that is with you. You head over towards Toronto, there's your weekend snow. There's another little collision of those air masses, so another couple of storms this weekend, and then nothing's going to melt when you get those minus 10 to minus 12 temperatures. Montreal as well. You've got a snowy, cold forecast to go. All right, back on the roads here, Longueuil, Quebec, and this was the scene this morning. The sun's starting to come up. Well, not the sun, but at least it's not as dark. And you can see there that the treacherous driving conditions, it's very difficult to make out one lane from the other. It is, the off-ramps and on-ramps, bridges and overpasses, unplowed roads, rural areas. These are going to be areas you don't want to get stuck out on because help could be a long way away from coming. All right, well, it is winter. This is Canada. We should expect this. And Michael Van, you've been down at Nathan Phillips Square, and you've been chatting with people as well. The general sentiment, people happy with this? Have they had enough of winter? Does it bring on spring?
Honestly, at this point, everyone seems to be enjoying this big snowfall. I think that there was a lot of warning around the fact that this system was coming, but people were still a bit surprised to see how much snow was still on the sidewalk and on the roadways this morning. And that's because there is a lot of snow to move around. And you could take a quick look behind me right here along Bay and the intersection of Queen here. You can see how much snow really is still on the ground. And I've got to be honest, actually, there's a salt truck pulling out and around this morning and plowing as well. That's one of the first that I've seen in a little while that are on the actual roadways, and that's because not a lot of the more side roads that are not part of the main arteries of the city, those come later in the process. You've got to get those main arteries cleared first before they start doing the work clearing those side streets. I have noticed people are going good and slow this morning. That's what you want to see. If you do have to be in your car and driving, you want to take your time. And as you can see just behind me here, there's a big bend on Bay Street here as it meets and intersects with Queen. People are slowing down there as well to make certain that they have ample time to react to the changing conditions around that curve right there. And of course, the main thing, the focus here is if you can stay home, give those crews ample amount of time to be out on the roadways and get those clear. And of course, make certain that if you are headed downtown, you are not going to park in any of those snow routes. Mark, I'll send it over to you.
question for you, because it usually sees this I usually see this at least once during something. Has anybody come by yet with the skis and the poles? Has that happened yet?
You know what? No skis and poles yet. To be fair, they are finally starting to get the ice skating rink cleared, so we might see some skating pretty soon. But you know what? It would be nice to see some of those hardcore cross-country skiers out this morning, but not quite yet, Murph.
All right. Thank you, Michael Van. All right. So let's take a look here at, we've got more video here we want to share with you and more updates, because we know there's a lot of flight delays and cancellations out at the airports. We know that there's been lots of school closures as well. And we got Nadine Powell standing by. And you know, Nadine, with a snowstorm of this magnitude, when things start winding down, I always use this analogy. It's like the snowstorm, that's the party. It is like New Year's Eve, 1999, you know, and the aftermath,
cleanup.
That's the hangover. We need some more Advil and Tylenol ASAP, because there is quite a cleanup en route.
Yeah, definitely so, Chris. The hangover and the cleanup. We'll need lots of coffee to probably take us through that, because you can see here, I'll take you to the radar imagery, and this is quite the expansive storm for us. The snowfall associated with it stretching all the way, you can see from the Great Lakes there, Michigan in through Ontario and into Atlantic Canada, so through the Maritime. So that's a good, say, at least 1,600 kilometers worth, and that is just on the snow edge, the northern edge of that system. Now, while most of the snow will be coming to an end for us across much of the GTA, we're certainly seeing that evidenced here on the radar. Very fine flakes in a couple of spots, an indication that the moisture is drying up. We are still looking at those winds to increase for us throughout the day today, and lake effect to be an issue. Still for us this morning, though, in and around Niagara there, you can see that pink, an indication of that freezing rain, and we still do have that freezing rain warning in place there. And certainly into eastern Ontario now, just along the 401 corridor as we head toward Prince Edward County. This is going to be the focus of that bit of mixing coming through for us as we head through later on this morning into the afternoon, before they too begin to see conditions improve. Ottawa, Montreal, in the thick of that snowfall, they will be dealing with the cleanup, the hangover later on this evening as that snowfall comes to an end for them. And then as we take a look back to the west now, the Bruce Peninsula extending along the shores of Huron down into the southwest, just some light snowfall moving in, but really the focus moving forward will be that wind. So that wind shifting direction. Temperatures have been, especially along the Lower Lakes region, slightly mild. That's why we got into that mixing for us, that 0-1 degree there. But we will turn colder. We will have that lake effect. And so certainly blowing and drifting snow will be an issue on the roads, regardless of where you are across much of southern Ontario. So certainly we've been taking a look at this from all vantage points. And this snow that we are getting today and into the weekend, it's not going anywhere anytime soon. Mark Robinson, our storm hunter, you will probably be out tracking snow again this weekend.
Yeah, unfortunately I will. But before we get into that, I just want to point out that I can see an airplane going in. It's an Air Canada going into Pearson. I don't know if Dave can turn around and see it. But yeah, that means that the airport is getting planes in now. So if you are dealing with delays, they're at least beginning to get the aircraft in. I would still say check your flight times. I know one of my friends, George, is trying to fly to LA today. He might be a little bit delayed, but it doesn't look like he's going to be stopped, which is good. But at least, you know, we're into the aftermath part of it. I want to show you sort of behind you. You can sort of get an idea of how much snow it is. There's the lone shopping cart sitting right there. But if we sort of walk around here, I want to show you the parking lot right here. And this parking lot is normally full. It just happens to be a parking lot I know very well. This is in my old neighborhood. Yeah, and this is, it's cleared out at this point, which is nice to see. But definitely, definitely we are now into the part where everybody has to clear up. Now, I would have stopped and talked to some of the people that were snowblowing, because there's lots of people, but I didn't dare stop the car on the side streets because of no plowing having been done. There was just one little track that went through there, which meant that if you had two cars coming the other way, there was no way to get around each other. So came here, right here, just to show you that yes, there is the cleanup now, and yes, I know we are looking at that next storm. Another 20 centimeters of snow potentially for parts of southern Ontario. Murph, not good.
Well, no, I know. It's like, where are you going to put the snow? And Mark, you and I were talking about this earlier. Remember, I asked you, I said, Mark, in your memory, does this seem like the largest snowstorm since that one a few years ago, the big dump of snow? And your answer was?
Yeah, I think it was the biggest one. Now, I just happen to be in my mom's neighborhood, so I'm going to go shovel out her driveway when we're finished with this live stream, because I know her. She is going to try and do it, and it's just like, no, I'm here, Mom. Yeah. Let me shovel your driveway for you.
What a good son. Full marks on that. Thank you, Mark. And yes, we're talking about the Toronto area, and this is 26 centimeters of snow. That's what we're up to for this, and unofficially, but that's the largest one since that one. That was that January 16th, 17th one that dropped 34.4 centimeters, and certainly more than that in surrounding areas. Now, of course, you might be in the snow belts right now and go, come on, 26 centimeters of snow, you get that all the time, but when you're impacting millions of people, that obviously compounds the issue. This is seen earlier on. This was the 401 Township, Highway 401, and we could see heavy traffic and delays there, and this was pretty significant to be sure. Okay, so we have Atlantic Canada. We've got snow headed your way. The light snow will become heavy snow this afternoon and evening, especially into the northern half of New Brunswick. But don't be surprised. Everybody, you should start off with the snow, but southern New Brunswick, most of PEI, Nova Scotia, transitions to ice pellets a little earlier in the west, a little later in the east, even into eastern Newfoundland. This is going to be overnight and tomorrow. And then, of course, there's the dreaded freezing rain. So there are some freezing rainfall warnings in central areas of Nova Scotia, snowfall warnings in northern New Brunswick, and there's going to be some very powerful winds with this, with gusts anywhere from 80 to 100 kilometers per hour, especially for coastal areas, and that means that power outages will be a concern. So we got to get prepared for that as well. Nadine, we have a question, and I'm going to have you answer this one. This is, how's the long weekend storm shaping up? So I know you've been busy looking, one eye on this one, one eye on that one.
Yeah, exactly so, Chris. This one, the track of it will be initiating a little bit farther to the north. However, it's still going to be tapping into a lot of moisture from the Gulf of Mexico and a lot of cold air and some Pacific moisture as well. So you'll see Saturday and Sunday, it's going to be deja vu all over again. We've got perhaps another 10 to 20 centimeters of snowfall. Still fine-tuning the forecast, so of course, check back. But certainly it is looking like another big snow event for Ontario, Quebec, and into Atlantic Canada. So folks, if you've got plans for this weekend to be out on the roads again, perhaps you're heading skiing, you've got to take it easy on the roads. OPP officer Kerry Schmidt, he's been giving us some good advice.
This is Highway 401 eastbound, collectors at the 427. The lanes have been plowed, but the shoulders have not, and that's obviously because we've got broken down, stuck vehicles, cars, tractor trailers, and we've got massive amounts of snow, plus the windrows that have caused to block these vehicles in. Stay in control, stay safe, and if we can stay off the highways until the plows finish the highway, we'll be in much better condition. Please take care, please stay safe.
And of course, a big thank you to all of the plow operators, everyone working overtime to clear the streets for everyone. They've been working since last evening. This is quite the storm continuing to push into Atlantic Canada as well, where they'll also see a bit more of a mixed component, especially for, say, southern New Brunswick and into Nova Scotia. Michael Van, you are in downtown Toronto. I can see some clearing efforts ongoing behind you there, Nathan Phillips Square.
You know what, Nadine, there are some very impressive snow clearing efforts happening here in Nathan Phillips this morning. I think if you were joining us earlier in the live stream, you saw just how much snow was on the rink here, and now the efforts have shifted from piling that snow up to clearing that snow. You can actually see just how much is filling up that front loader right there as he makes his way. Now he's taking that snow, moving it to another location behind the buildings over here, just to get that clear and out of the way. And of course, he's not the only one here clearing the snow right now. You've got a couple of snow blowers working on the sidewalk over there, getting that nice and clear. And then just down here at the other end of the rink, we have another tractor that is also clearing the snow with the Zamboni on the back there as well. So the good news here at Nathan Phillips Square is might not be too long before skating is back open. And you know, that's good news. When you have snow and the winter weather like this, you want to get out and enjoy it, right? We might as well embrace it and be out in it. And of course, you know, for all the kids out there, hopefully you're having a snow day. If you're not having a snow day, hopefully that school day goes by really quickly so you can also get out and enjoy it. Now, this is some good fluffy snow to be able to play in. It might not be the best for snowballs, but you can get a little bit of a snowball to form, as I hit my poor camera guy Manny with it. It's okay, he loves it. He's definitely enjoying this. He's having as much fun out here as I. Don't shake your head, Manny. You know it's true. You invited me to throw snowballs at you.
All righty, Michael, thank you so much. Yes, and for those who want to go out and enjoy the snowfall, just a reminder though, it is going to be windy, so extra woolies will be needed. And with Family Day coming up this weekend as well, we'll also want to bundle up when we head out because this cold is sticking around. Anyone doing any traveling? Radar imagery there. Some areas of caution just along the 401 into Eastern Ontario for the next couple of hours before that eventually pulls out of the area. Most of the activity will be winding down across the GTA, or it is winding down, but we've got to turn our attention to the snow belts where we've got some lake effect that will be setting up for us moving into this afternoon. Those winds will be gusting, say, about 40 to 60 kilometers per hour. So we'll see some additional snowfall into the snow belt regions. And Chris, they've been having quite the season up in the snow belts this winter. They've been loving it, of course.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's been too much of a good thing from time to time as well. But, you know, like you've been mentioning, it's been localized snow events for much of January, but things have changed. The jet stream configuration has changed, and that's been allowing these big storms to come up from the U.S. and spread widespread, you know, maps like this, widespread winter storm warnings, snowfall warnings. Now, a few areas I want to draw your attention to. So Barrie, you've got those blowing snow advisories, westwards with some snow squalls, still some lingering freezing rain around the Niagara region. Toronto, you were out of that snowfall warning, but areas further east, you still got a little bit of that to go. Anywhere in the salmon color, so Bancroft, Ottawa, Montreal, Quebec City eastwards, that's winter storm warnings, and you can also see stateside, there's still some issues there. So the back end of the snow there, pretty much moving out of the GTA, so you're not going to get much more, but so it's the aftermath now of several hours of all that heavy snow. Cornwall, you're still into that heavier snow. Ottawa as well. Again, the back edge, not too far away. Montreal, you still got a few more hours to go, and we've had winds up around 40 to 50 plus kilometers per hour. That means blowing snow. That will be an issue once again this evening. So even as the snow dissipates through the afternoon and the evening, there's still going to be some residual blowing snow. But just that's all moving its way northeastwards across the east coast, and in its wake anywhere from 25 to 35 centimeters of snow from Montreal to Quebec City, with higher amounts in the Laurentians over towards the Gatineau region, the Ottawa, the Outaouais. You're looking also out about 25 to 35 centimeters of snow, and then to the eastern townships about 15 to 25 centimeters. The winds, they're still going to be strong today. Those west-northwest winds is going to help bring those snow squalls back to George and Bain Lake Huron, blowing snow in the GTA and surrounding areas, even though the snow shouldn't be falling anymore. And then you see there's your strong winds this evening near eastern Ontario and Quebec. So this is still a good day for the rest of the day to keep it close to home if possible. And there's going to be some cold air following this as well. Wind chills near minus 20 tomorrow. Montreal certainly will be in Quebec City. So lots going on, to be sure, with this storm system in Ontario, Quebec, and then ultimately the East Coast. So, Mark Robinson, you've been busy today. I think we've given you a lot of good information out there. You've been driving around, and in case you're just tuning in now and you missed it, you know what Mark Robinson's going to do? He is going to shovel his mom's driveway. So, Mark, you've always been a good soul in my books, and you've just reinforced it once again.
There we go. I hope Mom's watching this, so Mom will be over to shovel the drive. She likes to watch all the time. Yeah, Chris, this is the cleanup part of it. I mean, we're definitely into moving that snow off the driveways, off the sidewalks, and onto giant piles. And I'm gonna walk over this way and show you the giant piles that we're dealing with from just one parking lot. These are enormous piles of snow here, and this just gives you an idea of how much snow has been just shoveled out of this parking lot into sort of these spots here. Now, keep in mind, as we were, Chris, I heard you talking about the next storm system, and yeah, I'm watching that one closely because I've got to shovel. I'm going to shovel Mom. But then I have to go home and shovel my own driveway, which has got 20 centimeters. And I know that we're looking at another 20 centimeters from my area for Guelph potentially over the weekend. So lots of snow. I think we've been kind of surprised by this one. We had this idea, as we went through the beginning of the storm or the beginning of the winter, just little bits of snow just continually building up. And then boom, 20 centimeters. And I think we sort of forgot in some ways how much snow 20 centimeters is, and that's a lot to shovel out. So we're going to get a big reminder, and we're also going to have to figure out where. And Dave, I'm going to try and get up here. I don't know if I can make it. Nope, not going to make it. So Chris, I'm going to send it back inside to you while I try to extricate myself from the giant pile of snow.
Dug out of that snow. Thank you very much, Mark Robinson. Always informative, always entertaining. And yes, if you take anything else from me, if you must go out there today, along with the usual things you have, your snow brush, extra blanket, extra water, charged cell phone, bring one of these. I know I had to dig myself out this morning, and I'm sure a lot of people will have to as well, because there's going to be a long wait time for help to come. All right, well, on behalf of our team, let's see, we had Michael Van in Nathan Phillips Square in downtown Toronto. Michael, fabulous job today. Still waiting to see if anybody shows up with skis and poles. You'll have to get video of that. Mark Robinson, and also to Sergeant Kerry Schmidt from the Ontario Provincial Police for donating his time and his expertise for lending us all that advice. And of course, Nadine Powell, my co-host extraordinaire, with breaking down all the details of what this storm is to come. All right, thank you very much for watching. Again, if you have a fire hydrant in your neighborhood, try to clear that out. That precious few seconds could be the difference between a house saved and a house burned. Thanks for watching our live stream.